Sometimes what happens is you cannot get your whole output within one shot from one particular prompt. Within one chain, you may not be able to get the result. So maybe first you want to create one chain, get the result. Based on that result, you want to create another chain, which will take the result of the first chain and then generate the result. You cannot give one very complex prompt. For example, one of my prompt is, I want to get what are the top 10 books in a particular theme. Let us suppose, what are the top 10 books related to travel? What are the top 10 books related to history? What are the top 10 books that are related to personal development? So that is my first prompt. That is my first theme that I want to, first chain that I want to get. Once I get top 10 books, then I want to create another chain that will take one of those top 10 books and give me the summary of it. So I want to do it in two steps. Step one is get the list of top 10 books. Step two is I want to get a comprehensive summary of that one of the book from the top 10. So in that case, I cannot write one template. Like, we can still create it with some complexity, but there is a better way to do it. We can use something called sequential chains. So I will create both the chains, chain 1 and chain 2. So here it is sequential chains. So how sequential chains work? So first I'll create chain 1. So in chain 1, I want to get top 10 books. It gets top 10 books. So let's say I want to give a name for this. Let's say first I will mention my LLM. So here, as I told you multiple times, there is no need for us to write this again and again, but intentionally I'm writing it. So LLM is OpenAI temperature. Let me keep, since I want to get top 10 books, maybe I'll keep the temperature at 0.5. My book name prompt is prompt templates. Right now, I'm not creating a template outside and then creating the template. I'm directly writing my book name prompt template is, I'm writing prompt template. Input variable is theme. You can give this theme as anything. You can give this theme as history. You can give this theme as geography. You can give this theme as personal development. You can give this theme as the subject of machine learning. What are the top 10 books in this theme? So please provide a simple list of top 10 well-known books that center around the theme of whatever is the theme. Usually I keep a colon here, theme of this theme. Do not include the book description. I just want a list. Usually these three quotes that you see here, it is a kind of docstring. That means if you start with these three quotes, in multiple lines also, you can keep this particular line. Otherwise, usually for a string, if you keep as usual like this, then only this line will be read as a string. So if you want multi-line string, you have to keep three quotes here, and then three quotes. So this is the book name template, and the user can give the theme. Now I'll create my first chain. So large language model done, prompt template done. We are now to the first chain. So book name chain, large language model chain, LLM chain. My large language model is large language model, and the prompt is this one, whatever is the prompt. Now what we have to do is, until now we got the output directly, we printed the output. But here I want to carry forward this output to the next chain. I want to pass on these top 10 books to the next chain and then ask a question that what is the summary of one of these books. For that particular purpose, I have to use something called output key. I want to get top 10 books and I want to store them in book name list. Okay, so in the result, if I want to access those books, I want them to store with a particular key, books names list. You can give any name here. Okay, so once you do this, then I would say the book name chain dot invoke. So my books list result or books list is equal to my books name chain dot invoke. I can give any theme here. And then in the books names list, the actual output, if I try to see. So theme is personality development, and the output key, particularly I have mentioned earlier, the output key would be just a text. So I can take this books names list, and then from there, I can particularly get this one out of it. This is the one. If I try to print this, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, such a great book. Everybody must read it. One of the best point in this, there is a point about collaboration that is kind of life-changing for a lot of people. So try to read this. It's quite a good book. And then The Quiet Power of Introverts, etc. I haven't read that. Mindset, New Psychology of Success, Power of Now, Blink the Power of Thinking with an Alchemist. It's a good one. Okay. I think there must be somewhere The Power of Habit. So it is not given here. But anyway, we have given the temperature as 0.5. We do not really know what exactly will be the list that we will get. Okay. So this is the book name list. So chain 1 is done. Now we will go to chain 2. What my chain 2 has to do is, it has to take any one of these 10 books. I'm not particularly asking about any one of these books. Any one, maybe the first one or the second one, any one of these 10 books, and give me a summary of that book. I don't want to go and read all these books. I want my large language model to provide me a summary. This is where large language models and the other authors or other organizations are fighting, because large language model is not supposed to give the information like that, because this is copyrighted information. How can somebody just give the information just like this? So there is a still there's a lot of ethical fight that is kind of going on. So New York Times, they have done a lot of research and published an article, and that article can be accessed very easily by using a large language model. So that is where they have sued OpenAI. Okay. So there is a problem right now. It is still not solved. Like, what is that privacy that this large language model is keeping? Okay. Let me define chain two. As usual, help me. First one is my large language model is equal to OpenAI, whatever is the temperature, how many ever max tokens that you want. And then book summary prompt. I want to make it as book summary prompt template. Earlier one was book name prompt template. This one is book summary prompt template. In that, I would like to say prompt template. My input variable is books names list. It has to be like this. Books names list is my input variable. What is my template? Take one of the book. Take one book from the list of books names list. Provide a comprehensive summary. If I wait for a second, Google will anyway suggest me comprehensive summary of the book in 3 sections, each section with 3 summary points. So it is going to consume more tokens. I have kept more tokens here. So once you have this, once you have your large language model, once you have the prompt template, it's time for a chain. So I will say this is chain 2. This is called book summary chain, LLM chain, large language model. I will take book summary template, and this output also I want to store somewhere. So in the final output, there will be 2 keys. One is book names list. The other one is book summary. Once I run this one, so book summary chain is created. Books list is also created, or books list and book summary. Both of these chains are created. Now, finally, I have to combine these 2 chains. So first, once the user gives a theme, the final objective is I'll take the theme from the user, generate 10 books on that theme, and then take one book and then give the summary of that one book. So how do I do that? I use something called sequential chain. So from LangChain, so finally, I'm doing something called sequential chain. You know, why am I writing this sequential chain in a comment? So that Google understands what I'm trying to do, so that I will get some suggestions based on whatever I have given. So from LangChain, chains import sequential chain. Then I would write book chain is equal to, this is the final chain, sequential chain. So there are 2 chains in this, a list of chains, book name chain, book summary chain. So one is book name chain, book name chain. The second one is book summary chain, both the things. Input variable is just only one, which is a theme is the input variable. Output variables are books names list and book summary. So first chain will give the books names, the second one will give the book summary. So that is the chain. So how do I invoke this? Let's say my result, final result is equal to book chain dot invoke. The theme is personal finance. If that is the theme, what are the what is the summary? So what's happening is top 10 books will be taken. From there, one book will be picked, and then from there, the summary will be generated. So definitely it is going to consume some time. So on personal finance, the book, 10 books that were printed, I think that was book that will be there in books names list. We can access that as well if I want to access the first information. And from there, one book was picked, Rich Dad and Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki. And this is a summary. So what it says is Rich Dad, personal financial classes book. The book emphasizes on the importance of financial literacy, etc., etc., etc. This is a Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You can write any theme here. All that you need to change is just the theme. So what I'll do here is I will take this. Let's say, what are the top 10 books in fiction? So what are the top 10 books in fiction? From there, one of the book will be picked. I think section 1, setting of characters, plot, etc., etc. Book name is not given. What we will do is take one of the book in the books names list. So what we would say is in the output, mention the book name and the author in caps, so that in the beginning itself, we have the book name and the author also mentioned. So by using a prompt template, you are making whatever are the changes from your side. You're not giving the user a lot to work with. And that is important when you are building some applications. You want to behave them in a closed, very much detailed environment where you don't want the user to change the features. You don't want the user to change the nature of the application that you are building. Similarly, if I say fiction, 10 books will be created. One out of those 10 books, we will be getting the summary. So I have been using OpenAI right now for these many applications. Let us see how much was the costing that has happened for me. Today is 23. So the cost for all these, whatever are the exercises that I have done today, it is how much? Less than 0.001. For all the last few days, whenever I have used OpenAI, I have used it for multiple tokens. So GPT 3.5 Turbo has been used. The monthly spend is less than 1 cent, less than 0.00. For this whole month, I have used $0.05, not even a single dollar. 1/20th of the dollar for all these exercises, which is very, very reasonable as of now. Let's pause here and take some questions before we proceed. Are you getting a hang of these chains, all of you? LangChain and chain?
Sir, I have one question. This is Rishi Patel speaking.
Yeah, please go ahead, Rishi.
Sir, can we use a different LLM for different stepping chain?
We can use that.
Okay.
Yeah, because when we are getting the LLM chain, okay, or when we are getting the sequential chain, we are giving the chain itself here. Now that chain information will be passed on. So that chain will get the output. So there we can use, let us try that right away. Let's say instead of OpenAI for the first one, I will use OpenAI. For chain one, we are using OpenAI. For chain two, let us use Cohere. Is that the question that you have asked? Like,
Yes, yes,
yeah.
yes, yes.
So
Yes.
then this is the output that we are getting. Because the final sequential chain doesn't have any LLM component. It just takes this chain one, this takes chain two. So we should get the output.
Yeah, this just like stacking, right?
Exactly.
We are stacking one over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is the.
Now, is this different from what we were getting previously?
Yeah, obviously it will be different because there is nowhere in the world it was mentioned that when it comes to personal finance, these are the only top 10 books. Are you getting? So
Yeah,
whenever
yeah.
you ask a question to large language model, you have to think, is there a fixed answer, static answer? Then you will get the same answer. Okay. If you feel
Yes,
that
yes.
there is nowhere in the world, according to research, or there is no gold standard or the world standard where they have approved that these are the top 10 books, then only the output will come like that. It since there is no such thing, so large language model will always try to get what is the best result. Okay, because
Yeah,
there are 4 or 5 books that have the same probability to be there on the
yeah,
top 10. So every time it
yes,
will pick based on
yeah.
whatever is randomly.
Yes, actually, I'm coming from that point of view where, if you remember, Bloomberg GPT is there, right?
Hmm.
So, if I ask some question, there are generic question. For generic question, I can call Open API, ChatGPT API, and for financial information,
Hmm.
maybe or mutual information, sequential mutual fund information, I can ask Bloomberg GPT to get me more
Hmm.
with that. I think this sequencing will be more customized if my question answers and my queries are related with the
Exactly.
finance.
So as we discussed earlier, if we feel that there is a particular action from OpenAI or this chain, we are not liking the output, it is changing too much, we can restrict it, which I'm going to discuss later on. We can restrict it to look into only certain documents. Okay. We can also restrict it to show us only a certain type of output. Okay. The output also, sometimes it comes like this, sometimes it is displayed in this manner. We can also mention how the output should be displayed. There will be so many other components that we are going to include in this chain to make it much more effective. Later on, we are going to get into that.
If we also want to incorporate the list of books, the list of the books that it generated, do we have to include that in prompt too?
No.
Also show
So,
me the, yes, sir.
okay, for that, since we already got the list here, if you want to get only the list, like here directly we are getting the summary. Since we are storing the books, you can get them by using this key. Let us suppose the result right now is showing you only the summary. But since you're also interested in the books list, we can give this a key to access that information. So these are the top 10 books.
I mean, sir, in summary, if I together want like everything together in one go as an output.
Then we have to change the prompt. In that
Okay,
case,
sir.
we have to say that. So here I have added this prompt earlier. I'm saying in the output, mention the book name and the author in caps. Okay, that's what I have given. So we can also say in the take one book from the list of this one. So I would say first print all the 10 book names. It's all about writing the prompt, giving the right instruction to our large language model. Book names, mention the book titles. Okay. So basically, I want this time my chain to first get top 10 books and print top 10 books. Out of them, take one book and then try to give me the complete summary. That is also fine. Definitely, it is going to take some time. I think by mistake, if I have given mention like if it understands that it has to give the summary of all the 10 books, or to get this summary, if it has to generate all the 10 book summary, then it will be much more time consuming and more tokens will also be used up. I think it is getting the summary of all the 10 books. Finally, it will give summary of one book probably. Let's wait. We'll wait for one more minute and then we will try to change the prompt.
And so do you think there is random seed going to be incorporated in GPT?
Even then, it is not going to give you the same result.
Same answer.
No,
Okay.
even
If
then.
we want to like save the, because when sometimes we try, every time we run the prompt, the answer is different, and we want to stick to a consistent answer, like any answer we like.
So for that, the prompt that we are writing, right? It has to
okay.
be meticulously designed in such a way that do not do this, do this. And when I'm saying personal finance, only focus on these, and avoid these. Your prompt itself will be 2-page long. Are you getting this?
Yes, sir.
So
It
basically,
gave the
this is
output
a
of
way
10 books.
you are actually interacting with your large language model. Later on, there are some sections where we are going to discuss. There are 2-3 types of prompts. One is human message. The other one is system message. Okay. So sometimes you can mention a system message which will fix the system to follow, to be in certain boundaries. Okay. So there are ways to get it. Looks like the prompt, like for me, I was thinking that you print the top 10 books and take one book later on. Maybe we haven't mentioned that clearly here in the prompt. So the way large language model understood it is like you have to give the summary of all the books. It seems that it has given the summary of all the books. That's why it took some time. Okay. Once again, we should not think that large language model is always giving different result for every run. That is not true. The statement is not true. It will give you different results only when there is no fixed answer. Are you getting it? For example, if you ask the large language model, what is the VIF formula? Even if you execute it 100 times, every time the output will be 1 by 1 minus r square only. Are you getting what I'm trying to say? Because
yes,
this is a fixed answer. Every large language model has to give this answer only. Okay. But if you ask the large language model, explain VIF to a layman, then it will give every time a different answer because there is no fixed format that everybody must follow. That is not given. Are you getting, everyone? If it is a factual information, by keeping temperature near to 0, you will get the same answer again and again. If it is subjective, then we will get different answers. Carry on with the questions. I'll take one more question, then we will move on to the next subtopic. All right, then. We will do one more sequential chain, maybe slightly interesting one. So if I want to take one stock analysis, let us suppose there is one report that has been given by SBI. Okay, I'll take a small report. I'll take some text. Yeah, this is the one. So if I want to analyze this from there, I want to get the information whether I should buy or whether, like, I want to analyze this information. Obviously, this is a smaller one that I have taken. In reality, this report will be much lengthier. Later on, we will really take some big PDF files and how to extract the information out of it and how to extract in a particular manner. How do you store that information? All of that we are going to discuss. But in this first example, I'm taking a simple aggregated information about SBI. So this is the SBI stock analysis that has been somebody has published it. Now, what I want to do is I want to create a sequential chain. First, what I want to do is from that report that somebody has published, I want to know what are the top 3 positive and what are the top 3 negative points. That is the first thing that I want to do. The second thing is I want my large language model to be an investment banker. And I want to analyze those top three positive, top 3 negative points that has been generated by the first chain. So chain 1, what chain 1 is going to do? Top 3 positives and negatives. This is what chain 1 has to do. Chain 2 is an investment banker. Okay. This has to suggest whether it is a good buy or not right now. Usually, whether it is a good buy or not, that we cannot really tell from this small piece of information. You may get the output from the large language model saying that from the input you have given, I cannot really decide. Or maybe you can buy, but be careful. Those kind of results we may get. But the more and more information that you give, the more and more clarity that this large language model gets, then it can give us a right suggestion. So let us create chain 1 first. Again, let us write my large language model is equal to either OpenAI. Now here I have to keep the temperature 0. I don't want it to be very much creative. I want all the factual information. And then my template, I will write a detailed template here. My template, you have a large language model, you have a template. What is the template? Read the text from this stock analysis input. Have I executed it? This is the SBN stock analysis. So read the text from stock analysis input. Later on, I'm going to give this SBIN stock analysis and then mention the company name and the market capital. First, I want to see what is the market cap and then write top 3 positive points. What are the top 3 negative points out of this? Maybe if ROI is good, if ROC is really good, or maybe if the profits are increasing, or maybe the CAGR is pretty good. All of that, you try to mention that. What are the top 3 negative points? What is that which is not working? If you feel that NPA is really high for this bank, now that is a red flag. Maybe ROA is really good, but NPA is really bad. Now that is a negative point. We may not want to buy that. So keep the point short. Like I want it to generate 3 points that are very, very short. Okay, that is a template. From there, I will write prompt template. So I will call this a prompt template as information extraction prompt template. Input variables equal to stock analysis input. That is the input that I'll give. My template is whatever is the template that I have mentioned. So once you're done with your LLM, once you're done with your prompt template, it's time for us to create a chain. So let me call that as information extraction chain is equal to large language model chain, my LLM, my information extraction prompt. The output case is pros and cons right now, positive and negative points. And this is the result. So in the result, if I want to see what is my output key, so I'll try to print it. Company name is State Bank of India, market capital. Now this market capital, how many ever times if you execute it, this will be static figure. But these positives and negatives, it may change. Because one large language model may think that these are the positive points, because if there are 6 positive points, any 3 of them will be given. Good ROE, as we have seen, 13% is a pretty good ROE. Strong profit growth, 51.3% is a very strong profit growth. But what is the problem? Poor sales growth. Definitely SBI doesn't really focus on sales and so on. Usually high cost to income ratio. Obviously they have a very huge market capital and all those things. ROI on track with the average of 0.7, etc. These are the negative points. These are the positive points. But now I want to give this information to an investment banker because I cannot really decide based on 3 positives, 3 negatives, whether to buy the stock, whether to hold, or whether to sell the stock. I don't really know. So let me create chain 2. So my large language model is equal to OpenAI. Right now, for this exercise, you do like this. In future, don't do the declaration of large language model again and again. That's not a good idea. But here for this exercise, I'm doing it. Okay. So that we don't forget it in future. My template is, imagine you are analyzing stocks for 15 years. Look at the good points, look at the bad points, see if the company can grow right now. Is buying the shares is a smart move or not? That is what I want to. Based on the, so here in this template, we have to give this pros and cons. So based on the data from pros and cons. So based on the data from pros and cons. So let me write it this way. Take the data from pros and cons, and then this is the information. And then finally, I would say stock decision prompt is prompt template. Take the pros and cons and whatever is the template here. And then finally, this is chain 2. I'm going to create stock decision chain, LLM chain, investor report. Output key is investor report. Okay. And then these 2 chains, I have to convert them. So I can actually check this right now. result. But before that, I will just connect these two chains using the sequential chain. So my sequential chain, or the final chain, final sequential chain, you can give a better name for this, is equal to sequential chain. What are my chains? My chains are information extraction, input variable is stock analysis report, and then output variables are pros and cons and investment report. Okay, so stock analysis report, whatever is for us, stock analysis report is SPIN stock analysis report, which I will be using when I'm invoking this chain. So finally, my final result will be, or let me write it as final result is equal to, because I have used result a couple of times there. So final sequential chain, invoke SPIN stock analysis, final result investment report. So first, it has to take SBIN, go through chain one, mention top 3 points, top 3 positive, negative points. Second one, try to. So based on the data, so it says that high non-performing assets NPAs, which is like 5.44%, which is a very high probability. So based on the data, buying the shares of like 5% of the ones are NPAs. Like you are from bank, you know that that's a very large number. Like out of 100 people, 5 people are not really paying back the loans. That's huge, huge, especially for a bank like SBI. They do a lot of scrutiny before giving a loan, but still 5% of the people are not paying back. And if the loan amount account size is high, that's a very bad one. Based on the data, buying the stocks may not be a smart move at this time. SBI looks good from all angles except this angle. SBI, the biggest issue is non-performing assets. Suddenly there will be a bomb that we will see that there are huge non-performing assets, 300 crores, 400 crores, 500 crores, 1000 crores. Somebody just took as a loan, industrial loan, and they did not pay back. But I'm not saying that everybody will get the same result. Some of you may get a buy call, some of you may get a hold call, some of you may get a call saying that it's not a good move, because the output depends on whatever is the input that we have given. More and more clear, granular, crystal clear information that we give, the output will be that more confident. Okay. Execute this piece of code. If you have any questions, please let me know. We'll discuss. All right. Now we will take a couple of more examples and then we will wrap this up. I hope you are getting an idea on these chains, large language models, and stitching them with the prompt template and then getting the output. Later on, I'm going to show you how do you structure the output. Right now, the whole output is text only. So using a package called pydantic, we can extract a particular piece of output and then we will send it to some other place in our application. In our application, we want to use this LLM chain as one of the smaller piece, get the output from here and pass it on to another part in our application. That also we're going to see. Now there is a particular place where this large language model has made a huge inroads. Some people are saying that the jobs are going away. Yes, it is true. Some of the jobs are hugely impacted by generative AI. One such act or one such team that may have lost a lot of jobs is, earlier there used to be a team called IDP, Intelligent Document Processing. Now IDP, one of the most sophisticated team, they will do a lot of hard work to extract the information that is there in a document, to extract the information that is there in a image file or a PDF file, and then find out where exactly is your target information lying, and then extract it and give it to the model or give it to the user as a final output. For example, if I have given you a letter, on that letter there is some address, and in that letter there is some date, in that letter there is some cost, in that letter there is a table. Now extracting that particular table, extracting the address, extracting the who's the author of that letter, who is it intended to, what is the date. So this process that is known as intelligent document processing, this was very, very difficult earlier. There used to be teams working on it and the accuracy was pretty poor because it's a very difficult task. But IDP has been made very easy nowadays with these large language models. It is ridiculously easy. First, I'll show how IDP was working without any large language model. Let's go to that example of IDP somewhere. Yeah. So these are some of the images that I'm downloading. So on my GitHub, I kept invoice 1, invoice 2, invoice 3, invoice 4. These are the 4 invoices that I have kept. So this is one of the invoice. Item 1, item 2, item 3, item 4. And this is a table. Tax is there. Amount due is there. Bank details are there. And Oliver Smith is the guy who sent us the invoice he's from really great company, and his address is hello@reallyGreatSite.com, and the invoice date, invoice number, everything is here. What is IDP? Intelligent Document Processing. In IDP, we take this document and whatever is the information that you want to extract. If you're interested in the email address, if you want to extract only email address out of it, so how do you do it? When there was a time when there was no large language model, so using PyTesseract, what it will do is this PyTesseract, it will take this image and extract the text out of it. Once the text is extracted, to extract the email address, we have to write this function. It is a function that is based on regular expressions. These codes are checked to extract the email address out of it. You will get the email address. But the thing is, email address has a structure. That is why you can get it. But can you write some code? Can you write this type of code for extracting a table? Impossible. Is there a way to extract the table? Because identifying email address is easy. You can use regular expressions. Email addresses follow certain format. Before @ there are certain values. After @ there are some certain values. So it follows a certain fixed format. You can extract the email address. But extracting a table, extracting a general address, extracting bank details, those are all very difficult. That was not possible earlier. But now we can make this whole thing very easy. So you extract the image text first, and then you give it to a large language model, and then you ask whatever is the question that you want. So first we will see how to, there are 2 steps in it. Step 1 is extract text from image. So that is the first step. For that, I'll get the image, my invoice text, whatever is the text, this is the one. There are packages for it. In fact, nowadays there are, right now I'm using PyTesseract. Nowadays these large language models are multi-modal. What do you mean by multi-modality? They don't not only work on text data, they also work on image data. You know that, right? So if you go to OpenAI, if you go to ChatGPT, you can upload the images as well. If you go to, let's say, Claude, I think there will be one example directly on the homepage itself. Let's say this is the image. This is the image. You can give image, recommend style improvements, like they are working with image as well as the text. Okay. So you can use a large language model also for working with images, or we can use PyTesseract, which is extracting the information. So this is the table. Now what do? You ask a large language model to read all this information. So here is the chain that I'm creating. A large language model is equal to OpenAI. I don't want any temperature here. I want all the factual information. And then I would say my template is equal to, as usual, 3 quotes, and then take the information from invoice text, print the item wise price and quantity. So I want you to print item wise price and quantity, QTY. To be on the safe side, I will put QTY, or quantity is also fine. Let us see whether large language model can understand QTY as quantity or not. And then invoice text is the input variable. And then finally, I will create my chain, invoice chain equal to LLM chain, my LLM. And then the prompt template, output key is item wise price and quantity. This is one. And then my result, I'm giving the invoice text. And then finally, this is what I want to know. Item wise price and quantity. This is the price item 1, and then 1 unit, 1 unit, 1 unit. And if you want the overall price also, mention that. Mention that here. Mention the overall price also. There you go, the amount. Sometime back, it was impossible. People didn't even give a try. Let's say if you are using PyTesseract in this method, if you want to get the output like this, it was impossible. There's no way. It looks so simple right now. There's no way you can get these kind of results. This is all due to LLM's interpretation ability. It can understand the text that you have given, and it can give you the output. And now this whole code that we have written, it's not required. You can ask a question. I want to get the email address. Let's say if you want to get the email address, the same thing, I will take this chain and I will say, take the information from invoice text and print the email address. Email address. That's it. From the invoice text. The output key, I want to keep it as email. The output key is email. That's it. Whatever you want. Let's say if you not only want email address, you want email address, client name, and then you also want phone number. you also want total amount. In that case, you will get it. You will definitely get it. Now, later on, I'm going to tell you how to extract email address and store it in a variable and send it to a particular place. How to extract only client name, store it in another variable, send it to another Python program. How do you extract phone number, send it to another Python program, all those things. In fact, by writing the code here clearly, by writing the prompt, if you just mention the prompt clearly, automatically you will get the result. Let us suppose here I'm not interested in all this. I want to print the bank account details. These are all the bank account details, account name, and so on. Partly, the accuracy of this large language model will also depend on the text extracted from the image. So we have to use a good model that is extracting the text in the right manner. Sometimes this text extraction becomes like it will give us wrong results. If we are using a good model here, there are several models which are working with images. And then on top of it, if we use a good large language model, if we also write the prompt very clearly, we will get the right results. Now, these are the kind of tasks that were made damn simple by these large language models. And we are using LangChain to work with a large language model. Without LangChain, you may have to write a lot of lines of code. One of the simplification of LangChain is, for example, I'm working with OpenAI. Tomorrow, I want to work with Cohere. All that I need to do is I have to say my large language model equal to Cohere, and then everything, the system won't break. But if I'm not using LangChain, if I'm directly using OpenAI as it is without LangChain, if I'm directly using Cohere as it is without LangChain, so the code that you write in OpenAI is different. After that, if you want to change it to Cohere, you cannot simply migrate from OpenAI to Cohere just like that. That is why we have to use frameworks. Frameworks will make it easy for us to connect with several applications, connect with several packages easily. One of the framework is LangChain. That is the one that most of the people are using right now. If you ask me what is the next best framework, which is somewhere nearby, it's not nearby, it's far away from this. The other framework that you may come across is Llama Index. We will also have one session on Llama Index, just the basic introduction to it. But these are the two frameworks that most of the people are using. Maybe in the future, other frameworks may come up where everybody is going to use them. But as of in the early stages, LangChain is the framework that everybody is using right now. Carry on if you have any questions, anybody. All right. Now that brings us to the closure of this particular session. Now what we will do is we will try to do an assignment before coming to the next session. This week you will have two assignments. One assignment will be on Hugging Face model fine-tuning, which is very important. You must see opportunities. The companies that you are working right now, there you at least you can create some pilot projects and try to present it to higher management saying that this is a place that we can improve. So one of the assignment will be on Hugging Face model fine-tuning, which I'll float it tomorrow or day after. I'm still creating that. The other assignment is on LangChain. So we have to create a book summary app. What we need to do is we need to develop an application using LangChain sequential chain. So what we need to do is we have to accept theme as input. This theme also, I want it to be made in such a way that user doesn't have multiple options. Like this theme, you have to give it as a list. So you say that from these 20, from these 30 themes, you choose the one. So you're not even giving an option for the user to write down what theme they want to choose. You mention 30 themes. From there, you have to pick top 10 books. And then the second chain will generate the summary for the book, one of the book that the user picks up. Okay, so the final app should look like this. So if the user chooses business and entrepreneurship, and then it should give us this kind of output. Okay, what are the top 10 books and what is the book summary? Clear, everyone? Have you understood the problem statement? Straightforward.
Yes,
We
sir.
have done some of this, but maybe when you're doing on your own, that is when you'll get a chance to make a lot of mistakes. That's where you will understand how it is working. So that is the story of LangChain part 1. Like that, we have part 2, part 3, part 4, 6 parts we have in LangChain. So we have completed part 1 of LangChain. Okay.